we've been getting a lot of different perspectives and people that knew OJ in different ways. And Jamie Sharper was a teammate, and Ray Rice obviously was someone who sought counsel. And Brad Jackson, longtime friend of ours, Super Bowl 35 champion, was both a teammate and, because Brad stayed here in Baltimore for so long, someone who was around OJ all of the time. Brad, it's always good to chat with you. I wish this wasn't what we were talking about, but can you take me back? Like, do you have a first memory of OJ, what you knew about him when you guys first became teammates?
Yeah, so thanks for having me. Obviously, prayers go out to Shonda and Juice's family. Like we can be sad, but we can also celebrate because he's no longer in that chair. And for me personally, for having played with OJ, um, I am probably the first person in the entire Baltimore area that has known Juice the longest. Take you back to 1998, my rookie year. I'm a third round draft pick of the Miami Dolphins, and OJ is there as a linebacker. So that was my very first interaction when I got to Miami. He was a veteran, you know, guy that, had bounced around. We all know his story and how, triumphant he was from the CFL and to the NFL, and Juice literally chased me down almost every day about not being a 22-year-old young man with a lot of money in Miami, Florida. And in that environment, for everyone that knows what Miami stands for, Juice was the ultimate warrior of God. And Juice used to come when I first got to Miami. We stayed in hotels as rookies, and he would come, being that we were in the same linebacker room, and he, for whatever reason, had an affinity, had a big brother attachment to me, and would pick me up or drag me. I would try to sneak and get away from Juice, and he would drag me to Thursday night Bible study as a rookie. And, then once we got, going into the training camp, and he'd be the one to grab you the night before. He'd come knock on my door the night before the game. For the fans that don't know, there's all, the team goes to a hotel. There's usually mass in chapel before you start. Special teams meeting is first, then offense, defense, and then team meeting, and then break with the coach, and then you go to snack, go to bed, wake up the next morning, play football. And Juice would be knocking at my door, and there was times I would try to run and hide, and he was on me from that moment. Fast forward, he gets signed in Baltimore. I never forget when he signed in Baltimore, and I literally said, like, "You won't let me go," was one of my first words. And I will never forget his response. And he said, "No, my brother, God won't let you go."
Wow.
And he's just using me to keep you on the right path. So I grew up in the church. Everyone's religion, their religion. But me personally, Bradley Michael Jackson, my faith was restored, how to be a better man, how to be a professional athlete, and by no means perfect, but being a professional athlete that can still have a relationship and faith in God. And we all fail, we all fall short. But OJ was always there, to be there as a person that was guiding me, a person that was always staying on me. Even up until a couple months ago, he would always, and I would see him and I would send text messages. I was with Chris McAllister a couple weeks ago and playing golf, and we were just talking about it. And I sent Juice a text message and a photo that, me and C-Mac said, "What's up?" And we loved him and cared about him. And this is prior, to us, getting a message a couple days ago or last week, just to lift him up in your prayers, a private Ravens message that we had. And so, and then when I went to Carolina after the team was broken up, we won our Super Bowl. Juice went to, the Rams. We would stay in Baltimore, as you alluded to in your opening. And, me being a better father, me being a husband, me being a better person and a better man is 1000% attributed to the fact that OJ Brigance as he said way back in 1999, 2000, that God wouldn't let me go. And so it was his view, and one of his feelings was that he was going to always stay on me, and he did. And so, that's one of the great pleasures of life, because I'm personally a testament that, and many times I fail and sinned, and as we all do, none of us are perfect. The only person that walked this earth perfect, they crucified him, no matter what your beliefs are. But, OJ's faith and that smile, his tenacity, and I never forget when he was diagnosed with it, and I was upset. I remember he was still walking around, and he looked at me with that smile and was like, "I beat everything in life. Like, this is nothing." That he was like, "With God with me, I'm gonna, overcome this also." And he never wavered in that. And, the fact that they gave him, for those that don't know, such a limited time, and then, he lived 19 years, with the disease, and they said he wasn't going to make it 1-2 years tops. And that just shows, one, what God meant for OJ to do, as you said, to inspire more people. And I definitely agree. And I know Mr. Bashadi and family will do the right thing, that Juice deserves to be in the Ring of Honor, because what he's meant, not only on the football field with that first tackle on the Super Bowl when he came flying down, and he literally told us, we all had, conversations, who's going to make the first tackle? I'm going to make the first tackle. And I never forget, right before we go out, Juice starts laughing, and we get on the sideline, special team coach Russ Purnell standing us, telling us which way we're going to kick it. Stove is there, and Juice is, we're all talking who's going to do it. And Juice turns around and laughs and said, "I don't know what y'all worried about. I'm making the first tackle." And then lo and behold, he goes down there and sets the tone for that Super Bowl, because he makes that tackle, and then he does his little dance he always did when he made a play on special teams. And so, his impact is lifelong. It's eternal. I'm grateful for his brotherhood and what he taught me how to be a man, and I carry that forward and teaching my kids, and that having faith and perseverance. Like, how can you ever have a bad day when every time you would see Juice, he was in that chair and fighting, disease with such courage and tenacity, and his faith never wavered. He was always smiling. He always still had a joke when he would talk through the computer. And so, when you think life is tough, you can look at situations like that. You can look at people like that, and you can look at the character of a man that, had God in his heart and love in everything that he did, no matter what his situation of being confined to a wheelchair. And yes, we're all sad. It's emotional. And I, text a whole bunch of my teammates. We have a big thread that, is one of the things that Juice would always be active in as well. And it was, heaven, gained their soldier back. They got their angel back, and he left a blueprint for us how to live, how to treat other people, how to act, and just be a good person, and never waver in your faith, and never doubt anything that God has planned for you.
But this is people that don't know, Brad's also a broadcaster, so he handled all the questions. Like, he went ahead and followed up and took care of them. Brad, the only things I wanted to follow, one thing that you said there that really jumped out at me, because I referenced earlier in the show, and I think you might have been one of these people. I did not know OJ, pre-diagnosis the way that you did, but I had known him a little bit. And when I had heard, I think like Kadri told me, I was terrified. But he definitely, and I'm pretty sure you did as well, like when I brought it up, because, before it was public, it was sort of one of these like, hey, if you knew, you talked about it. I almost vividly remember you saying, nah, he's got this. Like, I know he's got this. And almost like projecting, hey, you don't need to be afraid because we're not going to be afraid. He's got this. Do I remember that correctly? I know you said you were fearful at first, but do I remember you like having this belief that, knowing OJ the way you did, that even ALS couldn't hold him down?
Yeah, I mean, and that was because from 1998, when he took me under his wing as a rookie, and then he comes to the Baltimore Ravens, and then how he was every day. And like, even when we worked out at Lifebridge in the off season, I was in Carolina, he was with the Rams, and then he was, bouncing around the league, getting opportunities. And he was my off season workout buddy when I would be here in Baltimore. until we would go back to Florida in the summers. And, and he just always believed, like, even when it got to the point and I was injured and it got to a point of, that first year when I retired, and it's a lot of things that guys suffer with, which is why Juice's impact in the building is far beyond any play made on a football field, as you said, because the way he guided Double R, 27,
Yeah.
the way he was important for Ed Reed and his faith and reestablishing his faith. There's so many guys that because of OJ staying on them about establishing a faith or reestablishing their faith. And yeah, you're going to fall, you're going to sin, but God forgives everyone. And so don't beat yourself up about certain things, but pick yourself up and be better about it. And so when he first was diagnosed with, I never forget, he was still working out. He was like, and I was like, dang, you hear all the stories and we know what ALS is. And he was like, man, this ain't nothing. Like, God's got a plan, and I'm just part of that plan, B Jack. And he was like, don't worry about it. And I was just like, all right. And then, like you said, the mental struggle. And, I had a pretty good career, did well. And then it's kind of like that first year, you don't know who you are sometimes. And again, football for me, for those that know me and listen to your show, you've known me for years, it was a great job. So I've never thought myself better than anybody else. God just blessed me with some athletic ability and the ferociousness to run and want to knock people out. But, like a lot of times the game can take over who some of these players and currently think that they are and who we are and think they're better and bigger because, the way the media, social media now, the way the fans can put you on that pedestal. And Juice was always one to keep everybody humble and keep everybody just understanding, like, you're doing this for a short time, not for a long time. You're going to live life and have the ability to impact a kid or someone you meet at Target or a person in the media like yourself that I remember when you came up when you were young, which is dating me, but you never know how your impact in relationship with them will impact their view of you and how they may want to live their life. And so Juice was there even in retirement and helped guide and counsel me through some of those dark days when you were like, man, like, what am I supposed to do now? Like, I've played football all my life. I've done this. And, he was always just encouraging, which is why it was so great that the Ravens hired him to be, the director of player development, because that is ultimately who he was. He was developing players and developing players into men, into fathers, into husbands, and so his development of people was far greater than what the coaches were doing when they were trying to develop guys to be better blockers and tacklers and catchers and throws on the football field. He was developing guys that would have an impact on their lives long after they weren't a Raven and went someplace else, or long after they were not in the game of football. That's why his impact is so immense, and it can't be categorized into tackles or game plays, because his impact touched so many people that whether they were a rookie that was just there for a rookie mini camp or played 1 year in the league or practice squad, or they were 52, or Ed Reed or Terrell Suggs, who, he had a positive impact on everybody's life that came in there. And it was a greater impact than what their stat line on the back of their football card or whatever the coaches were trying to do and develop. So, that's his legacy. It's eternal. Like he like I said, like, we're all sad, but knowing him from how I knew him since 1998 and playing with him in two places and working out with him and then talking through life with him and then watch how he battled. And there's times that you feel like crap certain days, and I have a picture of OJ and I in my office, and I sent it to Kyle Richardson and Femi Amadejo, because we had a special moment, a special photo with him years ago. And, that's the one that stays up. But his smile is infectious. His belief is unwavering. And his trust in his Savior and Lord Jesus Christ is unshakable. And, we're sad, but we're also know that he's in heaven and he's not in that chair anymore. And he's up there being Juice, and heaven's gates were wide open and then welcome him back, and we're just glad that we got to be with him for the short time here on earth that God allowed him to impact more people's lives than any one play on a football field could ever do.
Brad Jackson, I don't know what we could possibly say that would be better than what you just said, my friend. I love you, man. Thinking about everybody who loved OJ. Thank you for taking the time and for sharing that all with us. We
No
really
problem,
appreciate
man.
it.
Thanks for having me on, man. Appreciate all you guys and what you do, Glenn. And God bless and prayers to Miss Shonda
Yeah,
and the entire Brigance family back in Texas. And we'll just keep living it, keep his legacy going by being better people every day and loving each other the best we can and making fun of each other and being a
no doubt.
jokester and just keep moving forward. But thank you for having me, man. God bless you
Love you,
all,
brother.
and we'll see you down the road.
Talk to you soon. Thanks, pal.
All right, appreciate you.
Brad Jackson, B-Jack, Super Bowl champion, and